The transport ship docked at Station 9 with a soft hiss, stood near the back of the line, waiting her turn to step onto the platform. Around her, beings from across the galaxy pushed forward with excitement and pride. They were warriors, predators, hunters from 100 different worlds. They had come to prove themselves at the Galactic Coalition Academy. Was 34 years old. She stood 5 feet and 4 inches tall. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple knot. She wore the standard gray uniform of a new recruit, and it hung loose on her thin frame. She looked like nothing special. A warrior walked past her and nearly knocked her aside with his massive tail. He stood 9 feet tall, covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes looked down at her for just a moment. He made a sound like a laugh and kept walking. Said nothing. She picked up her small bag and followed the crowd. The academy was enormous. Metal corridors stretched in every direction. Screens on the walls displayed information in dozens of languages. Recruits from every species moved through the halls like rivers of color and noise. Had studied all of them during her journey here. The tall reptilian, the four-armed with their clicking speech, the heavy who came from a world with twice the gravity of Earth. Each species had claws or fangs or armor or venom. Each one was built for combat. Had none of these things, she had soft skin that cut easily, flat teeth meant for eating plants and cooked meat, no claws, no venom, nothing that looked dangerous at all. The other recruits noticed this quickly. She stood in line for registration, and a group pointed at her with their upper arms. Their lower arms made gestures she recognized as mockery. One of them spoke in broken common language. This small thing. Looked at them calmly. Yes, I am from Earth. The made clicking sounds, laughter. We heard species were dangerous, we heard wrong. Smiled politely and turned back to the line. She had heard worse. She would hear worse still. The registration officer was a being she did not recognize. It had too many eyes and a voice like wind through broken glass. It looked at her file and then looked at her. You were a scientist, it said. Xenobiology. Why are you here in the combat program? I requested a transfer. Why? Smile did not change, but something in her eyes went cold and far away. I found a new interest. The officer stamped her file and waved her through. Her quarters were in the lowest section of the station, a small room with a thin bed and a single light. The equipment waiting for her was old and worn, second-hand armor, a basic blade that needed sharpening, no ranged weapons. She had been given the worst of everything. Set down her bag and began to inspect each piece carefully. She did not complain. She did not ask for better. She simply worked with what she had. That evening, there was a gathering in the main hall. Commander addressed the new recruits. He was ancient and with one eye missing and metal replacing half his jaw. He had fought in wars that lasted longer than human civilization. He looked at the assembled recruits with cold pride. You are here to become warriors, he said. Many of you will fail, some of you will die. This is the way of things. The weak do not survive, the strong rise. His single eye moved across the crowd and stopped on. She stood near the back, the smallest figure in the room. I see we have a human this year, said. The coalition insists on including all member species, even the delicate ones. Laughter rippled through the crowd, did not react. She simply watched and listened. After the gathering, she walked back toward her quarters alone. The corridors were empty. Her footsteps echoed on the metal floor. Then a shadow moved in front of her. Stepped out of a side passage. He was massive, nearly 7 feet tall and wide as a cargo container. His skin was thick and gray like stone. His eyes were small and black and filled with hunger. He smiled, showing rows of teeth meant for crushing bone. You are the human, he said. His voice was deep and rough. Yes, I am. I am told we may face each other in the trial. Looked up at him. She had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I have heard of the trial. I look forward to it. leaned closer. His breath was hot and smelled of meat. "Do you know what I do to weak things, human?" "Tell me." "I break them, I tear them apart, I eat what is left." He placed one massive hand on the wall beside her head. The metal dented under his grip. "You should withdraw. Go back to your soft world. You do not belong here." Did not step back. She did not look away. She simply stood there, small and calm, looking up at the monster in front of her. "Thank you for the advice," she said. "I will consider it." Stared at her, he was waiting for fear. He was waiting for her to tremble or beg or run, but there was nothing, just calm eyes and a polite smile. Something about that stillness made him uneasy. He could not say why. He stepped back with a grunt. "Weak things die in the trial, human. Remember that." He walked away into the darkness. Watched him go, then she continued to her quarters. That night she lay on her thin bed and stared at the ceiling. The room was cold. The silence was heavy. In that silence, memories came to her, memories she usually kept locked away. A frozen world, blood on the snow, screaming that no one could hear. 11 days of walking through ice and wind with broken bones and torn flesh. The faces of the slavers who came back for her. The sound they made when she killed them with a sharpened bone. She had been a scientist once. She had studied life across the galaxy. She had been curious and kind and full of wonder. Then they came to her outpost. They killed everyone. They tried to take her. They failed. Closed her eyes. She was still curious. She was still kind in her way. But she had learned something on that frozen world. She had learned what she really was beneath the soft skin and polite smiles. The galaxy thought humans were weak because they had no claws, no armor, no venom. The galaxy did not understand. Humans did not need those things. They had something else, something older, something that had kept them alive on a world that tried to kill them every single day for 300,000 years. Smiled in the darkness. Let them think she was weak. Let them laugh and mock and underestimate. They would learn. 3 weeks passed at the academy, trained with the other recruits every day. She ran the obstacle courses. She practiced with weapons. She studied combat techniques from a dozen different worlds. She finished last in almost everything. The speed trials left her far behind the who moved like water over the obstacles. The strength tests made her look like a child next to the end. Even the accuracy tests favored species with better eyes or more arms. The other recruits stopped paying attention to her. She was background noise, a small, weak thing that would wash out soon enough. Did not mind. She kept training, she kept watching, she kept learning. Then the announcement came. Commander stood before them in the great hall. His voice filled the space like thunder. The initial battle trial will begin in 10 days. This is your first true test. You will face each other in the crucible. You will fight. You will bleed. Some of you will die. The recruits shifted and murmured. Excitement and fear moved through the crowd like electricity. The crucible is an arena that changes, continued. It will become forests, deserts, mountains, oceans. It will release predators to hunt you. It will test everything you are. Those who fail will leave this academy in shame. Those who succeed will earn the right to continue. He paused and looked across the assembled warriors. The first phase is single combat. You will be matched against another recruit. Victory means advancement. Defeat means elimination. Death is regrettable but acceptable. Stood in the back and listened carefully. She had studied the Crucible's history. She knew its patterns, its tricks, its dangers. She had prepared for this moment since the day she arrived. The matches have been assigned, said. A screen behind him lit up with names and pairings. Found her name near the bottom. Next to it was another name. Around her, recruits turned to look. Some of them laughed. Others shook their heads with something like pity. Being matched against the was considered a death sentence for someone her size. Stood across the hall. He found her eyes and smiled his bone-crushing smile. He drew one thick finger across his throat, nodded politely, and looked away. After the gathering, she went to the equipment bay. Her assigned was waiting for her, a basic blade with a dull edge, light armor that would stop nothing serious, no ranged weapons, no shields, no medical supplies. She was being sent to die. The quartermaster, a tired-looking being with gray skin, watched her inspect the equipment. "You can request a withdrawal," he said. "No shame in it, not against a." "Thank you," said, "I will manage." She took the equipment back to her quarters and began to work. She sharpened the blade until it gleamed. She adjusted the armor, removing pieces that would slow her down and reinforcing areas that protected vital organs. She added small modifications that no one would notice unless they looked very closely. Each night she went to the Academy's database and studied, not combat techniques, not weapon manuals. She studied biology, anatomy, the physical structures of every species she might face. She learned where they kept their secondary hearts. She memorized the nerve clusters in limbs. She mapped the pressure points in muscle systems. Other recruits prepared by training harder, lifting heavier, running faster. Prepared by learning where to cut. One evening she was alone in the training hall, practicing movements with her blade. The door opened and a young entered. It was a female with blue-green coloring and large, curious eyes. She was one of the younger recruits, still uncertain of her place. Approached slowly. Her forearms moved in patterns of hesitation and concern. "Human," she said, "may I speak with you?" Lowered her blade, "Of course." "I wanted to offer advice for the trial." His voice was soft. "Is dangerous, very dangerous. He has killed before in trials on his. He enjoys it." "I know." "You should target his eyes. They are his weakness. If you can blind him, you might escape." Smiled. It was a genuine smile, warm and grateful. "Thank you, that is kind of you." "You are not afraid." "I am always afraid. Fear is useful, it keeps you sharp." Tilted her head. "You are strange, human. The others say you are weak, but you do not act weak." "What do I act like?" Was quiet for a moment. Her large eyes studied his face. "Patient," she said finally. "You act like something that is waiting." Smile did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Something old and cold and hungry. "Get some rest. The trial will be hard for everyone." The young nodded and left, returned to her practice. From a viewing platform above, Commander watched. He had been observing the human for days now. He could not understand her. She was clearly outmatched. Every test proved it. Every competition showed her weakness. And yet she did not give up. She did not complain. She simply continued day after day with that same calm expression. He had seen many recruits over his long years. He knew the look of those who would fail. He knew the look of those who would succeed. The human had neither look. She had something else, something he could not name. He accessed her file again. Earth medical records, mission reports, the incident at the research outpost. He read the details slowly. His single eye grew wide. "Impossible," he muttered. But the records did not lie. This small, soft creature had survived something that would have killed a warrior. She had done things that made no biological sense. Closed the file and looked down at the training hall, was still practicing. The same movement over and over. A strike aimed at a very specific height, a very specific angle. Height, nerve cluster location. She was not just practicing, she was rehearsing a kill. Felt something he had not felt in decades, uncertainty. The night before the trial, a medical officer found in the biology bay. She was reviewing files on every species registered for combat, anatomy charts, weakness maps, recovery rates. "You should be resting," the officer said. "The trial begins at dawn." Did not look up from her screen. "I will rest when I am finished." "What are you even studying? Combat medicine?" "In a way, highlighted a section on pain receptors. I am learning where it hurts most. The officer felt a chill. You are a scientist. Why do you need to know these things? Finally looked at him. Her eyes were calm, her voice was soft. Humans do not have claws, she said. We do not have armor or venom or fangs. Our ancestors faced predators much larger and stronger than themselves. Do you know how they survived? The officer shook his head. They learned, they watched, they found weaknesses, turned back to her screen. Then they made tools, and then they killed everything that tried to eat them. She smiled. I am simply continuing the tradition. The crucible came alive with a sound like thunder. Stood at one end of the arena. The ground beneath her feet was rough stone. Jagged rocks rose around her like broken teeth. A thick fog rolled across the floor, smelling of chemicals and decay. Somewhere in the distance, something roared. At the other end of the arena waited. He was massive against the gray sky. His stone-colored skin seemed to blend with the rocks. His small black eyes found her across the distance. Above them, thousands of spectators watched from the observation decks. Screens displayed the fight to viewers across the station. Could feel their eyes on her. She could feel their certainty that she would die. The signal sounded. The fight began. Charged. He moved faster than something his size should move. His massive legs drove him forward like a living avalanche. The ground shook with each step. His arms reached out, ready to grab and crush and tear. Did not run. She watched him come. She counted his steps. She measured his speed and his angle and the way his weight shifted. At the last moment she moved. Not backward, sideways. She slipped between two jagged rocks that were too narrow for to follow. He crashed into the stone with a roar of frustration. Rocks shattered under his fists. Was already moving. She climbed higher into the rocky maze, finding paths that only someone her size could use. She was not running away. She was choosing the battlefield. Followed, he smashed through obstacles that blocked his path. He tore apart stones with his bare hands. His rage was growing, and with it, his speed and strength. But also his mistakes. Had studied biology. She knew that their anger triggered a chemical response in their blood. It made them stronger and faster, but it also made them clumsy. Their fine control disappeared. Their thinking became simple. She needed him angry. She needed him stupid. She paused on a ledge above him and called down. You are slow. Is this the best your species can do? He screamed and leaped for her. His claws missed her by inches. She was already gone, dropping down to a lower level, leading him deeper into the maze. The chase continued. Minutes passed, grew more and more furious. He was not used to prey that fought back. He was not used to being made a fool. Finally, let him corner her. She stood with her back against a cliff wall. There was nowhere left to run, blocked the only exit. He was breathing hard, but triumph filled his eyes. Nowhere to go, little human. He stalked toward her slowly, enjoying the moment. I will make this hurt. I will make it last. Dropped her blade. Paused. Confusion crossed his brutal face. Then attacked. She moved faster than he expected. She was not aiming for his chest or his throat. She was aiming for very specific points on his body, points that only a would know. Her first strike hit the nerve cluster under his left arm. His entire arm went numb and dropped to his side. Roared in shock. He swung his right arm at her. She ducked under it and drove her knuckles into the pressure point behind his knee. His leg buckled. He fell to one knee, suddenly half his height. Now she could reach higher. Climbed him like a rock face. Her hands found holds in his thick skin. She moved up his back before he could grab her. Her fingers pressed into the base of his skull, into the gap between armor plates that protected his spine. Screamed not in anger now, in pain. He reached back to grab her, but his left arm was still dead. His right hand closed on empty air. She was too fast, too precise, moving around his body like water around stone. She struck again and again. Nerve clusters, pressure points, joints that bent the wrong way when hit at the right angle. Each strike was small. Each strike was exact. Together, they dismantled him piece by piece. The audience had gone silent. They had expected a quick death, a brutal crushing. Instead, they watched a giant being taken apart by something a quarter of his size. Fell forward onto his hands. He could barely move. His entire body was shaking. Step back, she picked up her blade. She walked around to face him. He looked up at her with eyes full of disbelief and something else, something that might have been fear. How he gasped, "You are weak." "No," said quietly, "I am human." She pressed the blade against his throat, not hard enough to cut, just enough to make the point. "Yield," she said. For a long moment stared at her. His pride fought against reality. His muscles twitched, trying to respond to his commands, but his body was no longer his to control. "I yield," he whispered. The signal sounded. The match was over. Stepped back and sheathed her blade. She turned and walked toward the exit. The crowd above her was still silent. Thousands of beings, unable to understand what they had just witnessed. Then she stumbled. The fight had cost her more than she showed. 3 of her ribs were broken from when it grazed her. Deep cuts covered her arms from the rocks she had climbed. Blood ran down her face from a wound she did not remember receiving. Medical officers rushed to meet her at the exit. They tried to put her on a stretcher. She pushed them away. "I can walk." "You are badly injured. You need treatment immediately." "I said I can walk." She walked out of the arena on her own feet. Her back was straight. Her face was calm. Only her eyes showed the pain she was holding inside. Behind her, medical officers surrounded. He was conscious but unable to move. His nervous system had been temporarily destroyed by precise strikes that no ordinary fighter should know. "What happened to him?" one officer asked. The senior medic scanned his body and went pale. She targeted every major nerve junction in his body, simultaneously, the precision required. I have never seen anything like this. In the medical bay, they finally convinced to lie down. They ran scans and treated her wounds. The damage was severe: broken bones, internal bleeding, cuts that reached muscle. "How are you still conscious?" a doctor demanded. "How are you still moving?" Looked at him with tired eyes. "Consciousness is a choice," she said. "Pain is information. Neither one controls me." She closed her eyes and let them work. In the observation deck above the arena, Commander stood alone. He had watched the entire fight. He had seen something that changed his understanding of the galaxy. Humans were not weak. They were something else entirely, something that had been hiding in plain sight. He looked at his medical file again. The incident on the frozen world, 11 days of survival, 4 slavers killed with bare hands and a sharpened bone. This was not a scientist who had learned to fight. This was a predator who had learned to think. And the galaxy had no idea. The second phase of the trial was announced 1 day after the single combat ended. Commander stood before the surviving recruits and explained the rules. You will be dropped into the Crucible's survival zone, a massive biome with forests, rivers, mountains, and predators. You will have no weapons except what you can make or find. You will have no food except what you can catch or gather. He paused to let the weight of his words sink in. The last 8 recruits standing will advance. Everyone else is eliminated. There are no other rules. Survive however you can. 43 recruits remained after the single combat phase. They were dropped into the biome at random locations, scattered across hundreds of square kilometers. Landed in a dense forest. The trees were tall and thick, blocking most of the light. Strange sounds filled the air. The smell of growing things and rotting things mixed together. She had nothing. No blade, no armor, just her uniform and her knowledge. She started walking. Most recruits would find shelter first. They would hide and wait, hopping to avoid conflict until the numbers dropped. The predators in the arena would hunt down the weak ones. Then the survivors would fight each other. Did not hide, hunted. She moved through the forest like a ghost. Her small size was an advantage here. She could slip through gaps in the undergrowth that larger species could not. She made almost no sound. But she was not just moving randomly, she was tracking. Every species left traces, chemical signatures in the air, marks on the ground. Broken branches at specific heights. Had spent years studying alien biology. She knew how to read these signs. By the end of the first day, she had found 3 other recruits, 2 and a. She did not attack them directly. She was smart enough to know she could not win a fair fight against all 3. Instead, she set traps. A pit covered with thin branches, positioned exactly where it would step. A vine stretched at ankle height for the faster. Berries from a plant she knew would cause stomach sickness, left where hungry recruits would find them. One by one they fell. The broke his leg in the pit. He had to withdraw from the trial. They were weakened by the berries and easy targets for the arena's predators. Kept moving. Night came, other recruits rested. They needed sleep. Their bodies demanded it. Did not stop. Humans could function without sleep for days if necessary. It hurt. It damaged the body slowly, but it was possible. She walked through the night, covering distance while others were vulnerable. She found more recruits. She set more traps. She watched and waited and struck when the moment was right. 38 hours passed. Had not slept. Her eyes were red and her hands trembled slightly, but her mind stayed sharp. She forced it to stay sharp. On the second day, she took a wound. A creature burst from the underbrush. Something with too many legs and a mouth full of poison. It bit her arm before she could react. She felt the venom enter her blood immediately. A burning sensation that spread up toward her shoulder. Most species would have panicked. The venom was designed to cause paralysis within minutes. Grabbed her blade, a rough thing she had made from stone and wood. She cut the wound open wider. She squeezed the flesh around it, forcing blood and venom out together. The pain was extraordinary. She kept squeezing. She found a stream and washed the wound. She heated her stone blade in a small fire and pressed it against the cut. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. She did not scream. She could not afford to attract attention. When it was done, she stood up and kept walking. The venom had been mostly removed. What remained would make her sick, but it would not kill her. Found her an hour later. The young had been tracking, trying to form an alliance. "I saw what you did," said. Her voice was shaking. "The creature that bit you, its venom kills within minutes. How are you still alive?" Looked at her arm. The burn mark was ugly and raw. "I removed most of it. The rest will process out." "That is not possible. No species can survive that venom without antidote." "Humans can survive many things that should kill us." Began walking again. Followed. "Our bodies are very good at not dying. It is perhaps our greatest talent." They traveled together for a time. Watched with new eyes. She saw the human push through exhaustion that would have stopped her. She saw her eat plants that were mildly toxic and suffer only brief discomfort. She saw her heal from wounds that should have needed days of rest. "Your world," finally said, "what is it like?" "Dangerous," replied. "The weather tries to kill us. The animals try to kill us. The plants try to kill us. Even the small invisible things in our water and air try to kill us." "How did your species survive?" Smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We refused to die. We learned. We adapted. We got stubborn." She looked at with eyes that held 300,000 years of evolutionary struggle. Being a does not mean coming from a dangerous world. It means being what a dangerous world creates. On the third day, the arena released its apex predator. It was called a devastator, a massive creature bred for one purpose, to kill anything it found. It stood 12 feet tall on 6 legs. Its hide was thick enough to stop blades. Its jaws could crush stone. The remaining recruits ran from it. They hid. They climbed. They did everything they could to escape. Walked toward it. She did not attack. She did not try to fight. She simply followed. The Devastator saw her and charged. She moved aside. It charged again. She moved again. It was faster than her, but she did not need to outrun it. She just needed to not be where its jaws closed. Hours passed. The Devastator kept attacking, kept dodging. She walked when it walked. She jogged when it ran. She never stopped moving. The creature began to slow. Its charges became less powerful. Its movements became clumsy. Had learned this technique from human history. Persistence hunting. Humans could not outrun their prey, but they could outlast it. They could keep moving when other creatures had to stop. The Devastator finally collapsed. Its massive body fell to the ground, exhausted beyond the ability to move. It had never encountered prey that simply refused to stop. Walked up to it. She found the soft spot behind its jaw. Her stone blade did the rest. In the observation deck, the crowd stared in silence. They had watched a human kill the arena's most dangerous creature without strength, without speed, without any advantage at all. She had simply walked it to death. Commander sat back in his chair. His single eye was wide. "What have we invited into our coalition?" he whispered to himself. Below wiped her blade clean and kept walking. The trial was not over yet. There was still work to do. 8 recruits remained, was among them. The final challenge was announced. Not combat this time, strategy, leadership, the ability to think beyond simple survival. Commander explained the scenario. You will work as a single squad. You will face a simulated planetary assault. Enemy forces will outnumber you 5-1. You must complete your objective and extract your team alive. He looked at the 8 survivors, and one small human. Choose your leader. The others looked at each other. Before the trial, none of them would have considered for anything. She was too small, too weak, too soft. But they had all seen what she did in the arena. They had seen her defeat. They had watched her walk a Devastator to death. They had heard stories of her traps, her tracking, her impossible endurance. Stepped forward. He had recovered from his injuries, though he still moved stiffly. He looked at with eyes that held no anger, only respect. "The human leads," he said. The others nodded, even the proud, even the swift. Accepted without hesitation. The simulation began. It was chaos. Enemy forces attacked from every direction. The terrain was hostile. Resources were limited. Every decision meant life or death. Did not fight like the others expected. She did not charge into battle or seek glory. She thought. She planned. She adapted. "You have the best eyes. You are our scout. Stay high and report movement. You are our wall. Hold this position. Nothing gets past you. You hit hard but slow. Wait for my signal. Strike only when they group together." Her tactics were strange to them. She used deception. She made the enemy think they were attacking from one direction while she sent her real force another way. She sacrificed advantageous positions to protect wounded teammates. They did not understand at first. "Why do you protect the wounded?" I asked. "They slow us down, leave them." "No," said, "we protect our own always. This is weakness. This is how humans conquered their world." Met his eyes without flinching. "We work together. We protect each other. One human is easy to kill. A group of humans who trust each other. That is how we became the dominant species on a planet that wanted us dead." The simulation continued, hour after hour. The enemy adapted and adapted faster. She learned their patterns. She predicted their moves. She turned their strength against them. In the end, her squad completed the objective with 0 casualties. No other squad in Academy history had achieved this. After the simulation ended, Commander called to his office. She stood before his desk, small and straight, waiting. Studied her for a long moment, then he spoke. "I read your file, your full file, the incident on the frozen world." His expression did not change. "You were stationed at a research outpost on 7. Slavers attacked. They killed everyone except you. They tried to take you." "Yes." "The records say you escaped during transport. You crashed in a frozen wasteland with temperatures that should have killed you in hours. You had broken bones, internal injuries, no supplies, no shelter, no communication." "Yes." Leaned forward. "You walked 200 kilometers through that frozen hell. It took you 11 days. When the slavers sent a team to recover you, you killed 4 of them, with your bare hands and a sharpened bone." Was quiet. "The rescue team found you still walking, still moving toward the nearest settlement. The doctors said you should have died a dozen times over. They called it a medical impossibility." Stood and walked around his desk. He was much larger than her, but when he looked into her eyes, he felt like the smaller one. "You were never just a scientist, were you?" "I was exactly a scientist," said quietly. "But I was also always this. Every human is. We just do not show it unless we have to." "What are you, really?" Considered the question. She had asked herself the same thing during those 11 days in the ice. She had found her answer in the cold and the blood and the endless walking. "I am what my world made me," she said. "My ancestors survived ice ages and plagues and predators and each other. They kept going when everything said they should die. That stubbornness, that refusal to stop. It is in our blood, in our bones, in every cell of our bodies." She met single eye. "You think you know what means. You think it means dangerous animals and harsh weather, but you are wrong. It means something else. It means a world that tested us every single day for 300,000 years. And we passed the test. Every time, we never stopped. We never gave up. We never accepted death." The graduation ceremony was held 1 week later. Stood on the platform with the other 7 survivors. A commander's insignia was pinned to her uniform. The crowd of new recruits and veterans watched in silence. Commander addressed them all. "The coalition has reviewed its classification system. The term will be officially redefined." He paused. "Previous definition, species originating from high-threat environments. New definition, species demonstrating evolutionary adaptation to persistent existential threat." He looked at. "There is also a new addendum to the human species file. Threat assessment has been upgraded. All personnel are advised. Do not underestimate based on physical appearance." After the ceremony approached, he moved slowly, his body still remembering the pain of their fight, but his eyes held no hatred, only the respect of one warrior for another. "I called you weak," he said. "You did." "I was wrong." Smiled. It was a warm smile, genuine and kind. The same smile she had worn on the day she arrived. "No, you were right. I am weak. By your standards, I cannot match your strength or your speed or your armor, but humans learned something long ago. We learned that we did not need to be the strongest or the fastest." "What did you need to be?" Smile did not change, but something ancient stirred behind her eyes. Something that had survived ice and fire and blood and time. "Relentless," she said. Nodded slowly. He understood now. Strength faded, speed slowed, armor could be broken. But a will that never stopped, a species that simply refused to die. That was the most dangerous thing in the universe. The next week, a new transport arrived at the academy. Fresh recruits poured out onto the platform. Among them were 3 more humans. They were small and soft-looking. They smiled politely and spoke quietly and looked completely harmless. The veteran recruits saw them and exchanged nervous glances. They knew better now. They knew what hid behind those soft faces and gentle smiles. They knew what the word really meant. and they knew that the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.